Welcome back to Aggie Pride, a UC Davis football podcast. I'm here with Dwight Smith, and it's a big one, Dwight. We are heading to Bozeman for a big-time matchup in a big-time setting on the Big Boy Network in the freezing cold, and we're playing the Bobcats. Lots of bees, and we're hoping for an A game for the Aggies, though, first and foremost. How was the anniversary dinner with Sweet Yodi?
Yeah, Brock, it's good to be back on the airwaves with you. It was a great celebration. 8 years down, and the journey continues. So we usually try and do steak. We did not do buckhorn. We'll save that for the big year 10. But we went to spot an Old Sack and had a nice meal and some good conversation. So thanks for asking.
That's cool. Yeah. Quick personal check-in for Dwight and I. November is a big month for us because we both have our anniversaries, and Dwight is turning 29 this November. Is it the same day as our anniversary? I always forget. Is it the 16th or 17th? No, it's the 17th.
17th. Yep.
Yeah. So you'll be 36?
Yeah. Yep. Turning the page. Yeah. It is a big month. It is a big month, and it's always great. Like I think I've said it on the pod before. November is always special because it's, the season coming to its culmination. We've always got the the Causeway Classic, which next year we won't have. We are getting ready for the last Causeway, and that'll be another conversation. But November is always sweet because I have memories as a kid, growing up on Miller Drive, walking down, having it be a birthday party, having my friends over, and then we'd go down to Toomey Field for some November Aggie football. We are not playing at the Tomb this weekend, but Brock is going to Bozeman. I'm gonna be able to celebrate an Aggie victory and a sweet anniversary, and it's so special to me, man, to share your anniversary with my birthday. It's always good because birthdays can be such a navel gazing time, but to be able to think about you and Caitlin and your awesome union and your amazing family, it's always special that I get to do that on my birthday.
We've got a new home for Aggie Pride, a UC Davis football podcast. Visit AggiePridePodcast.com. It's the hub for everything. All our episodes, ways to subscribe for early access, and our brand new Aggie Pride Classic hats in navy or beige. While you're there, sign up so you never miss an update, and follow us on all our socials for game day content, throwbacks, and behind the scenes. And don't forget, follow, and share the pod so we can keep growing the Aggie fan community.
Join the Cal Aggie Alumni Association to connect with Aggies across the globe. Members of CAAA enjoy trips, networking opportunities, VIP invites to events, and access to dozens of discounts. Sign up at alumni.ucdavis.edu/membership.
With over 55 years of experience helping families and businesses navigate life's legal twists and turns, the law firm of Bold, Paulsner, Maddow, Nelson, and Judson is a proud partner of the Aggie Pride podcast. Whether you're starting a family, managing your assets, or facing the loss of a loved one, BPMNJ is there to guide you through some of life's toughest transitions with clarity, compassion, and care. They assist clients with estate planning and also support families dealing with incapacity, elder law, probate and trust administration, conservatorships, and civil litigation. The firm is managed by Craig Judson and his son, Scott Judson, former Aggie Pack MC and past president of the Cal Aggie Alumni Association. With offices in Walnut Creek and Sacramento, BPMNJ serves clients throughout California, bringing trusted legal guidance wherever it's needed. And here's something special for our listeners. Mention this podcast when you book your free consultation at bpmnj.com and you'll receive $500 off a comprehensive estate plan. Bold, Paulsner, Maddow, Nelson, and Judson. Powered by Aggie Pride.
This episode is proudly sponsored by Next Level Sports, delivering the best youth sports experience. If you have a young, aspiring athlete in 1st through 7th grade, this is your chance to get on the field with Next Level flag football at UC Davis. All teams are coached by a current UC Davis Aggies football player, giving kids real mentorship from the same student athletes who practice and play on the same field within the Aggies football program. All activity takes place at UC Davis Health Stadium, so you get the full game day experience every week. Whether your participant is brand new to the sport or already obsessed with football, Next Level focuses on skill building, teamwork, and growth. It's an incredible way to build confidence, make friends, and learn from true role models. Registration for the 2026 Next Level Spring Flag Football and Winter Volleyball seasons at UC Davis are now open. Spots are going fast, so sign up today at nextlevelsports.com. Give your athlete the best youth sports experience. Yeah, it's cool. It's just thinking back to that, man. It's nuts to think back to getting married 13 years ago for us, 8 years for you. Your wedding weekend was insane. For those who don't know, Ethiopian weddings are insane. They last a calendar year, and there's so much food, so much dancing, so much sweat. And yet those were amazing memories back in DC. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be interesting because, I have to balance, Dwight, like anniversary dinner Friday night, maybe some hot springs, maybe a hike on Saturday. But it's also a great downtown there. And we will talk weather right away because the weather in certain places of the country is not as predictable as it is in the beautiful Bay Area. And so it said like last week was like 60 and sunny. Then it got down to like 39 and snowy. Today it's saying the weather is going to be 50 and no precipitation. We'll see what happens. Like that could just be toggling up and down, but there are certain like environments that it is really, really important. And I think this game, it's going to be really, really important, like how hard the field is. If there's snow on the field, if our quarterback can like grip the ball and if the passing game can thrive, because we'll get into kind of setting the stage, but there's different styles of play, in each team. And so we'll just have to kind of check that out. But we will tailgate too. I will say that, Dwight. And when you tailgate, you want to have nice meat. You want to have meat that is wild game that also can be tamed by the smooth hands of David Holtman at the Coach's Wives Tailgate, sponsored by Buckhorn Meat Co. Go to buckhornmeatco.com or check out their shop in Esparto for all the finest cuts. They have great branding for one. Branding is everything in this life, hence the Aggie Pride hats. But they also, like, in addition to the Buckhorn Meat Co., like their restaurants have just been fire my whole life. Love going to the one in Walnut Creek, which is still doing its thing. So if you're looking to get some food for your tailgate, hit up Buckhorn Meat Co. Dwight, I want to ask you a question to start. What's on the line for Davis in this game, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious piece is that there's still a shot at the goals that the team set out for, right? Which is to be in the hunt for a conference championship, right? And so, you can't help but remember the game last year here in Davis. Different venue, different season, different teams, different composition of the same teams, right? But it's similar scenario. And so I think that's one thing, right? I mean, we go in there, we pull out the win. see where the chips fall with the other teams, and with Montana, and then how we fare against Sac State. And there's a real shot because Montana's going to play Montana State, so one of those teams is going to lose. So that's there. I think stepping back for us, another angle on that is that to flip that, there's the opportunity, and all you can ask for in life is an opportunity. And this is an opportunity. Whether, all the externals, that just kind of enhances how the opportunity is attacked. But there's an opportunity to continue stacking bricks on our goal and our trajectory to break through into, the cream of the crop, the top of the pack in the FCS. And so to do that, as we've talked about, you've got to take your shots at Montana State, Montana, North Dakota State, South Dakota State. So that's on the line. Now, however the game plays out, I think even if it doesn't go our way, but we're in the mix, we're in the fight, I think that does put a notch there for us. But, I think, that's on the line too. It's like, how are we continuing to stack against all odds? Obviously, we've talked about all the setbacks and even additional setbacks that is news that was broken earlier this week with regard to injuries. But so there's those two things for me. The ability to continue pursuing that goal of being in the hunt and hopefully snagging the conference championship. And then the bigger picture of, hey, how is UC Davis positioning itself in the conversation of FCS football? But ultimately, man, like there's nothing external on the line. Like Platt talks about, it's all about the team and all about us, right? And so from that angle, it's just another opportunity. It's another game to pursue that, excellence across all three phases and go out despite the weather, despite the injuries, despite fill in the blank, and play the best game we've ever played. And that's what Plow said, in his press conferences. We've got to play our best game of the year.
Yo, man, this time of year is interesting because I really have gone deep into watching and listening to everything I can for this game. It's a big one. And you mentioned last year, down 30-8, come roaring back. Final score, Montana State 30, UC Davis 28 for the Big Sky Championship. Jake Mayer was on that week. I texted Jake. I said, we need you on again this week. He's flying. It's his last game of the year, I think, for Winnipeg, I want to say, is where he's playing this year. But he said, I'm down moving forward. Like, my schedule clears up. Jeff Bourque is our strength conditioning coach, our performance assistant athletic director, who's going to be the guest today. We'll talk more about him, but needless to say, this is a big time guest and it's timely. And there's some hard hitting questions we're going to ask him. But he is revered by everyone. And you mentioned the news, like Carter Vargas is out, will not be playing the rest of the year. I wonder if it was the Achilles. I remember thinking that when I saw the play happen live. Maybe it's an ankle. I don't know. Do you have intel on that? No,
I don't, but just putting together the pieces that we do know from talking to Carter and I think, whatever it is, he's been battling a recurring injury all year.
That's right.
And so there comes a point where it's like, you got to have conversations with your family, have conversations with coaches. Do I keep trying to push through, or is the risk related to trying to push through potentially knocking me out for next year? Right. So we don't know what it is, but I'm sure it was a difficult decision, if it was kind of that nagging injury dynamic, to shut it down for the year. But hopefully it's nothing more serious and just allowing him to really, really get healthy, so that he can be his best self into the off season and preparing for next year. But I don't have any idea what that
just
conversation
the way
was.
he was walking off, dude. Like the way he was walking off, I'm pretty sure he needed a lot of help. It was really slow. We're talking the Idaho State game from 2 weeks ago. People who are just checking in, especially all the Bobcat faithful who are listening to this. We know there's going to be a lot of you. the two-headed monster of Jordan Fisher and Carter Vargas was, I think, one of the reasons why I remain really confident about the outlook of the season, despite all the significant injuries on defense. The other reason, which I really started preaching about last week, trying to fire up Scott Gordon, is Caden Pinnock. And we'll talk about Caden Pinnock today because I think he's going to be our one big chance at kind of surprising some people. But Dwight, one of the things that stood out to me, and I know you just got done listening to the Plow Presser, was in listening to Vegan and in kind of Plow's last few pressers. To me, it seems like there is a growing fatigue on how these injuries are hitting us. And in listening to Vegan, he sounded very confident in their depth, and they've had injuries too. But like, this is a team that doesn't have, like, they're trying to make a case for Caden Dowler to be the Big Sky Defensive Player of the Year, which I'm pretty sure he's the twin brother of Taco Dowler, who's their dude at wide receiver and returns kicks and punts for them on special teams, which is another thing we need to talk about because special teams is in some ways a nightmare for us at times. In other ways, we have like the best kicker in the Big Sky, and yet it hasn't always worked out. And they are sound in that area. But just the perspective, like going into this game, if you look at a lot of the leaderboards and a lot of those Big Sky statistics, it is across the board Montana State at the top in every category. And then you will see us in that 2 to 4 range in a variety of categories. But I believe going into the game, something that Plow has said in the past, it's different between believing you're going to win and knowing you're going to win. And in the Plow preview presser, he said, like, we could lose by 100, but I feel that way every Monday going into the week. And I was just trying to get the sense, like, this does not feel like a week where we know we're going to win. This does feel more, it's not David and Goliath. Like, we're the 10th ranked team in the country. They're the 3rd ranked team in the country. And I do think we can go in and win. But where do you think the team is at, like, perspective wise? Like, you lost another big time guy. You had a very good win on the road, though, and what Coach said is the best win since his tenure, which I think internally it probably felt that way. On the outside end, it doesn't look like that. But what do you think the team is thinking going into this game? And, like, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of trying to get your thoughts too, Dwight, on, like, are there like different perspectives? Like, does Montana State think like, we're going to win this game? We have respect, but we're going to win. Do we think, man, let's go give it a shot? Because that's the vibe that the communication gives off, to be honest.
Right. Which is a special thing about this game is that, the outside communication will do its thing. And all that matters is what's happening in that locker room, in those meeting rooms.
Do you think it's different in the locker room, though? Because that's not outside communication. That is what each coach is saying.
Yeah, no, I mean that, kind of us talking, people talking about the game, what outside perspectives might be. And even what Plow offers to a press conference, I'm never going to assume that's how he's, fostering that belief, which he said he does. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good question. I just really quickly going back to last year, right? Like, even more of a kind of like, I remember there was a lot of frenzy around the game. A
lot.
Montana State was a different team, and in some ways, like, differently dynamic in what I've watched of them this year, like still solid as ever. I watched a little bit of the Cal Poly Montana State game, and so like last year, remember, we came out and hit him and smacked him in the mouth, had a great drive, scored a 2-point conversion, and then we had our struggles through a majority of the rest of the game, and then had our push at the end. I think that there's back to your point about the injuries and, I don't know. I would imagine like there's been so many at this point. It's like, guys, like we're in a sense numb to that, no replacing a Carter Vargas, but it's at this point in this season, like really unprecedented. Yes, everyone has injuries, but we're not going to do it here, but if you list out the guys that we've lost that we know about and those that we don't, their prominence heading into the season, their initial roles in what this team was going to be, it's really, I mean, I hate to say unprecedented, but it's been so long since I can remember a UC Davis team that's had these types of season-ending injuries at these positions with these types of dudes. And so I think this group has got to be kind of calloused to it at this point. Like, listen, Kaiasia, man, you're up, list the DBs that have had to step up, right? Jackson Severs, you're up, right? So I don't think something different is going to happen this week. And I think that fostering a belief is just going to come down to the margins. Like, I think that's what's exciting here. Like we haven't put together that super, super sound game across all three phases, and we have to do it this week. Yeah. I think like that's what makes Montana State is that they are really great in the details and in the margins outside of having great athletes and depth. And, I don't know their full injury situation, but my sense is that it's not as comprehensive, like losing key guys as we have. But to me, that's what's going to pull the team together this week in practice as they move through the week is let's focus in on the details. You mentioned special teams, the penalties, all these little red zone, and scoring 7 instead of 3. That's the opportunity that's in front of us. If we can double knot some of these things, I think we'll be right in there. And we have dudes still on both sides of the ball that are able to make plays and put us in a position to go win the game. So I think my sense is that the morale is going to be as fired up as ever to go on this business trip and handle business.
Yeah. Some people have said Sam Herder's bracketology came out today and he had us seeded, but not in the top 8. Remember, they seed the top 16 now as of last year. And we would be hosting a first round matchup Thanksgiving weekend against South Dakota. The Coyotes would be coming to Davis this time in a rematch. These are just fun to say out loud. We know that this is just hyperbole. That's the wrong word, but it's just something that we can
conjecture.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you, Dwight. I was struggling there. There's different challenges that I think the game's gonna bring. One of the things that I think we need to kind of hang our hat on is our ability to stop the run. And I think going back to like what Idaho State was able to do against us 2 weeks ago, is like really spread it out, that run and shoot style, and then gashing us on those big zone, plays to Dason Brooks. And we were just stretched and we struggled stopping the run that day. But that was a bit of an anomaly compared to the rest of our conference schedule. Like we're right behind Montana State in terms of rush defense. I would say our pass defense, something I've noticed like the last few weeks, especially like the deep balls, and you and Danny crushed it on the last reaction pod, but you're saying like, hey, 50-50 balls, like what can you do? But they add up, week after week, and Idaho State had success over the top with us. And so I look at the way Montana State plays though, and I don't necessarily see them as a team that's going to be consistently trying to chuck it over our head. They're going to hang their hat on this offensive line, and an offensive line that, transfers or NFL, it doesn't matter. Like they have so many guys that can play. Even this last game, like Vegan's like, yeah, our third unit was in there. Great to see them drive down for a touchdown, be able to move ball. And it's like they just rush for 300 yards. I remember talking about last year too, like all the time. And so our ability to stop the run, especially given cold climate, I feel like is going to be a huge factor in the game. And that leads me to something I'm going to ask you. And we will give our Buck or our Rivals snack score predictions here in a moment because Coach Bourque's going to be hopping on with us shortly. But I'm interested in some X factors, Dwight. And I will start while you can think of it on your end with a guy who really popped last week. And he had a big game in the cold last year at Montana, and that's Ian Simpson. Winston Williams, we haven't talked about in some weeks, America's best teammate who was like on the sideline at Idaho, just like chucking that towel around on kickoffs, like the amount of impact he still is able to make. And then even seeing Rex and Porter there pregame is like, it's just great that those guys are around, still having that leadership influence. But Ian and Mitch, like, this is a game where like you're going against a school that thrives on big boys, uh, both at the O line and D line, but then also like those hybrid cats. Like this is a team like Lencioni's a good tight end. Like this is a team where they have the D ends, they have the tight ends, they have those big hybrid. It's like Montana is just made to create beautiful athletes that can play defensive end or tight end. And so I really see it as not only an opportunity for Ian Simpson and Mitch Dixon, but like our DNs are going to have to make impact plays. Like sack psych needs a sack fumble, or spin master Sam has got to do something on the other side of it. And so, um, stopping the run is going to be huge, but the X factors for me are going to be those hybrid type cats who, I could run striders with on my best days. But what do you think on your end for kind of X factors on either side of the ball?
Yeah, I'd just flip what you said over to our ability to run and like really put the spotlight on our O line. And we talked a little bit about them in the recap episode of from Idaho. And they don't get a ton of shine, but it's gonna be massive to see how those boys can create space up front, hold the line of scrimmage, engage in pass pro against a great pass rush from the Bobcats, and then create seams for Asia and for Fisher to get to the second level. And then on defense, Kalani Riddick is a guy who's just been incredible on special teams and on defense for us. And I think Riddick and Batson and the whole defensive secondary's ability to run, stop, stuff the gaps that, Severs and our linebackers kind of, when they get caught up on blocks, how are we able to come in and limit Davis, who's just an absolute monster running back, if and when he does get through to the second level, to keep it from being one of the many scampers to the end zone that we've seen him have this year. So yeah, that for me is going to be the key. Just looking at the X factors. We haven't talked about Caden, but to do what he does, he needs either a pocket or an O-line that can, move around and get him to a spot where he can either run the ball, make a positive play, or throw it downfield.
This feels so wrong. Like part of me wants to spend more time talking about the game after the interview, but we just can't. We can't, Dwight. We're too busy. We got way too much going on in our lives. And I think we should ask Coach Bourque, like, hey, what's the team's vibe? Like, what was Veterans Day practice like? How's the weight room there's a million great questions that have been submitted on Instagram that we'll have to check out as well. But I think on our end, like, I have no problem providing the bulletin board material because we are getting to the Rivals snack score predictions. Get your spicy taco, 8 grams of plant protein Rivals snacks because those things are in fuego. A bunch of chips. Do something healthier that honestly has got a little like creamy thing in the middle if you haven't tried it. For me, I don't sense the like upset coming. I think there's a lot of just like a culmination of like a lot of trials. I do think the football gods, Dwight, I think the football gods are setting up the last Causeway Classic to just be this insanely pressure filled, high stakes game at UC Davis Health Stadium. Like I thought it all year. I've been worried about that game all year. I thought Sac State would be coming in like 4-6 or 4-7, but it turns out they're going to be coming in fighting for their playoff lives. We are going to be coming off of this game, and there's a reason why I'm probably shifting to Sac State already. Like, I do think it's an uphill sledge for us in Bozeman, and so the bulletin board material will be provided. This is a team in the Bobcats that are well-rounded. We didn't even talk about Lamson, the Stanford transfer quarterback, whose brother played O-line at UC Davis, who can run the ball and manages the system well and has targets and has time to throw. And there's just a lot of weapons all over the field. We didn't even talk about the two-headed monster of Julius Davis and Adam Jones. Adam Jones was, I think, the Jerry Rice Award winner last year, top freshman in the country. We probably have the Jerry Rice Award winner in Caden Pinnock. But Julius Davis is the one who has carried the load for him, and he was out the majority of last year. I think he actually, his first game back was the Davis game in Davis. So I also, Dwight, I'm kind of like, how are we going to be able to manage like doing, damage on this defense for Montana State that is like head and shoulders the top defense in the Big Sky, and a group that is deep everywhere, that is not going to give up plays, that's going to make you work for everything, that's got the size, it's got the speed. And so, we are the second best offense in the conference, and I think this is an opportunity for Caden to do some magic, a la Trent Tompkins. But ultimately, I'm envisioning like a 31-17 score for the Bobcats. That's kind of been what's in my head. I think it'll be harder to score points. I think the crowd's going to be loud. The environment's going to be still cold. And, having Carter would have been that change of pace back, that kind of the power back that would be able to run in the inclement weather and kind of like turn a no yard gain into a 3-yard gain and make a 3rd and 7, a 3rd and 4, and just kind of make everything better. So it's long-winded for me, but we didn't get a lot of chance to break down a lot of the aspects of the game because of the interview coming up with Coach Bourque. But yeah, 31-17 final is mine. What are you feeling about the game?
Yeah, I'm feeling like the scene from what's Coach Plow's favorite show. I'm blanking on the name of it right now.
Come on.
I know.
Mustache?
You help me out. Help me out. Yeah, help me out. What's it called?
We Believe.
Yeah, the believe piece. The believe.
It's a name. It's a name.
I'm blanking. 100%.
What is Coach Plow's? What did they call him at Boise? They didn't call him Tim Plow. They called him Tim.
Yeah, that's where I'm blanking, Brock. Full blank.
Lasso.
Full blank. Ted Lasso. Yeah, so the whole believe poster gets torn. They put it back together, and it just kind of becomes this mainstay. I believe that if we do a couple things, and these are the key, if we do a couple things, we can, like, their best, our best, can neutralize and make it a situation where we have a shot at the end. So these ifs are huge, right? These ifs are huge. If we can make our special teams a overall asset to the game, not a mixed bag of some bad, some good, but like an overall asset, pinning them in there and like having the punt scheme that doesn't allow Taco to do his thing. When we need field goals and extra points, making those automatic, kickoff return. If our special teams can tighten those screws and become a net positive in the game for us, if our O-line can continue to show the grit that they've shown and take care of the pocket, take care of Pinnock, create some seams for Asia and Fisher. If our boys, which I believe they can find a way, hey everyone, send your pocket warmers now.
I
So
ordered
that
them, right? I ordered it. I
yeah,
hopped on the
yeah,
Amazon. Get those things.
yeah, yeah, because there's nothing like catching the rock when everything's cold. Like your joints slow down. Like everything is different playing in cold weather. And who knows what other wind and whatever else is going to be going on. If we can drown out the noise from the stadium, and really play our best game, which there has been evidence that we can build to that. And what more motivation do you need to really lock in? So I'm looking at that. I'm also looking at Montana State, that's been a juggernaut this year, and just putting up bucket loads of points and limiting other teams to very few. There have been a couple pieces of evidence. I talked about that Cal Poly game. A Cal Poly team that, not perfect by any means. We had a really challenging game against them, came out on top. They were able to do some things against the Bobcats to get the game close. I think they were within 10 headed into the fourth.
It wasn't.
And
You said that last time. It wasn't that close. I mean, not to. The reality is, I'm pulling up the box score of that one. They made it a 14 or 17 point victory. It was 34-17 was the final, but going into the fourth, it was actually 20-3. They were down 7. Cal Poly was down 17. Cal Poly only had 240 yards offense. They only rushed for 50 yards, threw for 190. Montana State ran for 300 like they always do. But it wasn't like a complete obliteration like a lot of the other games. And I do get your point in that, like, it's Cal Poly. They weren't that great. And yet that was pretty similar to our score line. We were up 14 with like a minute left, 34-20, when Cal Poly made it a 34-27 game. So I get what you're putting down there.
Yeah. I mean, the point is that it was, I think, 27-17 with like 9 minutes left in the fourth, right? So 2-score game, 10-point game. My point is that, like we said earlier, it's not a David and Goliath. If we can put together our best game, which I have faith that we can and we have to, I think that we'll be right in the fight. And our defense, you take out the Idaho State game, and like you said, that could be something that Montana State's looking at and figuring out how can we replicate that. Coach Coombs is looking at that and figuring out how can we scheme up a situation that allows us to, get back to, like we did last week, our run stopping ways, and have the secondary be there and have Cofield and the boys ready to neutralize Lamson in the pass game. And so where I'm landing, Brock, and is we keep it close, give ourselves a shot at the end. And my score prediction is this week going to be, like it often is, like a mix of looking at both teams as well as, the Ted Lasso Believe dynamic. I think we keep it close. And then I think we break through at the end. It's almost like the football gods piece, like the flip of last year, where we almost got it. We didn't get there. Of course, it's on their home turf, but hey, we play well on the road. And there's going to be different weather dynamics outdoor, but where I'm landing, and it's a lot of belief mixed in, totally like feel your take as well. But where I'm landing is a 2, similar to last year, 2 points, whether that's a 2-point conversion or a missed PAT, block PAT by our team this time around. where we actually neutralize a little bit of that offensive firepower and keep it in the 20s. And so I have UC Davis 22, Montana State Bobcats 20.
I like it. I'll close with this,
Yeah,
Dwight. That's strong. No, go.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I already said it. I just think we know what we have to do. We have to put it all together. I think that if we do put it all together, we're right there.
Yeah. What gives me confidence most weeks since we started the pod is and coupled with the new piece of confidence, it's the two P's. It's Plow and it's Pinnock. Like, Coach Plow is in the lab right now, and Shelton's there with him, and they got their tools, and they're testing ish, and they're seeing what razzle dazzle matches up well. You know, one thing, I think it's okay, we're talking for a second more here, even though we said we would. One thing that stood out in Vegan's press conference was, hey, Davis does a lot of shifts and motions, but they really don't run all that much. We heard that. We heard that, Brent. Thanks for that. Last year, he said something that kind of annoyed you. I'll wink at him when I see him. You know, he knows, he listens to the pod. The reality is, like, the shifts and motions and stuff, the eye candy is what certain coaches would say. Like, and I remember good high school coaches telling me this, hey, just like wait until they get lined up. Like, then we're playing football. Like, don't let your eyes get deceived by all this motion and all this movement. Like, we're okay, then they're just running play action flood concept, or then they're just running zone read, or then they're just running counter, whatever. And the point is, like, that's somewhat true, but even like that middle screen touchdown Ian Simpson last week, like, that's a confusing ass play for a defense. You know, there was a lot of misdirection in that. And this is a disciplined team, and disciplined teams normally have what we call eye discipline. They know what their keys are and they stick to them, and they don't derail themselves from the play. And they have watched a ton of tape to know tendencies and down and distance and hash and, point of field or the part of the field that they're on. And so I think for me, I'm kind of like, it comes down to Plow being able to outcoach their staff offensively. It comes down to Pinnock being able to, extend when he's supposed to, or get rid of when he's supposed to, and just like make those plays that we all got out of our seat week 1 or week 0 against Mercer. And he did it again last week against Idaho, and he's done it all year. Like, dude's going to be probably pretty chill, like he was chill against Washington. It didn't work out. Like, that was just another level. Is Montana State just another level as well that we're not able to get to? They're not there, right? Like, they're not that much better than us, but they are deeper, and they are a program with, I think, a more extended runway. These guys are all expecting to win. Are we expecting to win? Or are we like, hey, we're going to go give a shot and then come home and play Sac State to get a seed? And that's where I kind of leave it on my end.
Yeah, I think that's it. The two P's. I would add that add a third P is precision. Just like being dialed. And Montana State, what you see, and even in that Cal Poly game, they throughout the season have allowed the other team and forced the other team into situations where that other team wasn't able to overcome. So for me, it's like, we can't put ourselves in situations that put us behind the eight ball. And we have to at least a couple times put Montana State in a situation where their precision, their execution is challenged. And if we're able to put those two together, that's where I think we have our shot. And I think you have to go in there looking at everything and fully expect to, if we take care of what we need to take care of, we'll be right there. We'll be right there with a shot. And it comes down to who can win the game of inches, and that includes penalties, that includes field position, that includes special teams, that includes how what's your average third down distance, right? Third down conversion, all that stuff. All those details are in the lab with those guys, like you said. And so I'm excited, man. I'm excited already having FOMO that I won't be there, but I'm glad that you will be there. And some other guys, other guys will be there. Getting the Aggie faithful going.
Well, and we've said it on previous episodes. Any admin listening and there's seats on the bus, Dwight Smith, he'll just stick that hand right up there. So you got an extra seat for your boy D Weeze. It'd be a nice early birthday present. And I thought of another P though, dude, and it's protection, because special teams, we had the fake. We've had a blocked kick or a blocked punt ourselves where Jay Fish did it early on. We've had some nice plays on special teams, but like the biggest breakdown has been protection, punt protection, field goal protection. Like these are the basics, and you can scheme up a cool reverse to Batu and it extends the drive. And I think it led to points. That's massive. That is massive. And protecting the simple plays is massive. Flipping field position is massive. And I remember last year that pass rush from Montana State just being vicious. They're big dudes. And so the pass pro on the offense side of the ball, like being able to make sure a kid who's starting on ESPN isn't overwhelmed by a pass rush, a kid who's not that tall, who might need a little pass pro from our boy Zaire and Eli out there. And so I think protection's the last P for me. It's like, do the little things. Like we're gonna scheme up cool stuff. Like we're Scrappy Davis still in our heart. We're not that though. Like we got our dudes too. Like we know that's a different level of athlete now. And so just do the little things, like play disciplined football ourselves. Like don't have penalties, no personal fouls, no losing our cool. Like don't need to talk ish. Like just show it. Like we can be nice guy Davis and still win the game. So I pick us to lose, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to be screaming my brains off and getting thrown out of the press box, because you're not allowed to do that. But yeah, any closing thoughts from you?
No, I think that's it, man. The one other thing was I would predict that the number of times, if we can make the number of times we give them a short field, right? So past the 50 to start their drive, if we limit that to 0, I think that's going to indicate the game. Like you look at those are the mistakes where you give a short field to the opposing team. And I think our tried and true bend but don't break defense, if we're making them drive the entire field, they're going to get their guys in space and they're going to do stuff. But I think that's part of the recipe in my mind. And I think that has to do with what you're saying about penalties, about keeping your cool, about just keeping your head down, letting your play between the whistles do the talking. And the guys have been really great at that, but it's going to take complete focus and excellence for us to play our best game. So looking forward to it, man, and excited for another test.
That's right. All right. Well, everyone, we have a pretty sweet interview with the man who garners respect, who the people wanted, and who makes Aggie land Shredville, with the truest sense of the word shred. So Coach Bourque coming up, stick around for that, and we'll see you on the other side.
This episode is sponsored by the Larison Real Estate Team, Bob and Jan Larison. You already know the name. They've been incredible supporters of UC Davis football, this podcast, and of course, they're Lance's parents, now cheering him on as he suits up for the New England Patriots. Off the field, Bob and Jan are one of the top real estate teams in the region, helping folks buy and sell across Idaho and Eastern Oregon. Whether it's a home, land, or investment property, they bring experience, hustle, and heart to every deal. So if you're looking to make a move or just want honest guidance, check out LarisonTeam.com or follow them on Instagram at Larison Real Estate. Huge thanks to Bob and Jan for backing Aggie Pride.
Bank like a champion when you bank with University Credit Union. UCU is the official credit union of UC Davis and is committed to giving every UC Davis student, faculty, staff, and alum a financial advantage. From low loan rates and financial coaching to high savings rates, including our new Elite Certificate Special, University Credit Union helps you reach your financial goals. Visit ucu.org for details. Use promo code Aggie Pride Podcast to get started. University Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
The Aggie Football Fund provides essential gap funding for the UC Davis football program, empowering the team to access vital resources for player development and program success. It also reconnects and engages former football alumni to maintain the legacy of Aggie pride and perpetuity. Through direct and flexible support, the AFF bridges funding gaps while fostering a thriving alumni community. Visit AggieFootballFund.com for more information. Aggie Pride is proud to partner with JG Graphics in Rancho Cordova, the spot for custom apparel, embroidery, and printing. Aggie alum Pete Povey and his team helped us design and produce our Aggie Pride hats, and the quality is next level. If you need gear for your business, team, or next big event, Pete will take care of you from first idea to final stitch. Support a fellow Aggie and check them out at jg.graphics or visit their shop in Rancho Cordova.
It's a big week in the Big Sky as we head to Bozeman, and we have a coach who's well respected by not only admin and the staff at Davis, but most importantly, the players, both current and past. And so we're here with our assistant athletic director of sports performance, Coach Jeff Bourque. Coach, welcome to the pod.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, Coach, thanks for being here, and we're really excited for this one, as you know. And there's just so many guys, like current players, past players, so many people that have just been like, "Hey, when are you gonna get Bourque on the pod?" So this is a special day for us, and it lands, like Brock said, on a special week. And you know, if you've had a chance to listen to any of previous episodes, we want to get into the X's and O's, but it all anchors on folks' stories and connections to Aggie Pride and the football program, and that journey usually starts much way back.
Yeah.
And so want to kind of learn a little bit about your story, you know, thinking about your love of sport, love of football, and that journey, and wherever you want to take us in that led to you coming to UC Davis and taking on the role that you've been doing for many years now.
Yeah, no, I'll try to give you a quick rundown. This is my 19th consecutive season coaching in Division I football. I started out, I played college baseball, played high school football and baseball. Baseball was my ticket to get an education, graduated from East Central, Oklahoma. I was actually a business major for 3 years, and kind of woke up one day, realized I don't want to do this. So kind of looked to things that I could stay involved in athletics. Like you said, just have a passion for sports and development. Didn't know strength and conditioning was a thing. I played Division II baseball. We didn't have a strength coach. So that kind of like a lot of people say, well, this guy influenced me. Like my lack of having a strength coach and realizing what I kind of missed out on got me really interested in the profession, and kind of did my first internship. And it just, I knew this is what I wanted to do. Started out, I was working at a physical therapy clinic back closer to home. I'm from Massachusetts. Knew I wanted to go to grad school. Knew I wanted to work in college athletics. I'd done some pro baseball. Thought it was going to be the thing. It wasn't what I thought it would be. So I sent my resume and a handwritten letter to, it was like 78, 79 schools. Every school that had, basically every Division I school that had an exercise science major. And it just said, I'm looking for a shot. I heard back from 3 schools: South Florida, Tennessee, and Arkansas. And basically they all said the same thing. Like, we're not going to give you a job, but you can come and intern. And if you do well, maybe you earn some. Chose Arkansas because my wife's from Oklahoma. I went to school in Oklahoma, so it was about 4 hours from her family. And then I was there for 4 years. I ended up going, interning, earning a job as a GA, getting my master's there, staying on for a couple more years, and then went to University of Nevada, was there for a year and a half, Then went to Boise State, was there for a year and a half, left with that entire staff when we went to University of Washington, was there for 2 years, And then I took my first head job at Abilene Christian University in Abilene, Texas. I was there for a year and a half. And then Coach Hawk called me looking for a strength coach. He had called some people at Washington looking for somebody. He called me. I wasn't looking for a job, but he was fired up about what he was going to do here and thought it was worth coming up and seeing it. And I guess the rest is history. It's my 9th season here.
That journey is so interesting because of the baseball piece, which is just, it's interesting to think about parallels and thinking about our guy Caden Pinnock and, you know, his baseball football dynamic, and then you mentioned that home is in Massachusetts, and you know, we may or may not be, the severity of the inclement weather is to be determined for the game this weekend. But I think back, I'd imagine growing up in Massachusetts, dealing with all kinds of different weather and actually 4 seasons. So talk a little bit about like those earliest chapters, like the love of football, probably played a bunch of sports, and then that like the click into baseball. Like, was that just something that was in your family kind of DNA, or is there are there other kind of rivers that you took to find a love of sport?
Yeah, it's definitely in the family. I'm the oldest of 4. All my siblings played sports. My dad played baseball in college. My dad got drafted by the Philadelphia Phillies out of high school. Didn't end up going. Went to college instead. My brother was a dual sport athlete at Springfield College. He played baseball and football there. I love football. I was just better at baseball. That was my ticket to get an education. Ended up going to East Central Oklahoma. And early in my career as a strength coach, just working with football, like when I was at Arkansas specifically, I kind of thought, man, this is a disadvantage. I don't know anybody in football. I have no connections. When I was writing all those letters, like I just don't know anybody. I don't know the profession real well. But like later on, as I kind of matured, I realized that it wasn't really a disadvantage for me. It was more an advantage because I had a different perspective. I wasn't doing things when I was kind of formulating my own process and how I wanted to do things. I, I I didn't have the perspective of, well, this is how I was taught. This is how I always did it. I kind of had to formulate my own opinion on things. So I definitely questioned a lot of things like, well, there's probably a better way to doing this. And well, that makes sense. Maybe, yeah, we should do that or tweak this. So, yeah, I think it kind of allowed me to have a little bit of outside the box perspective with training football players as I learned the game a little bit more and learned how people trained.
Speaking of your football players, you've had a lot throughout the years. Sometimes when you ask people like, "Hey, describe yourself," it's tough. Like we don't really want to talk about ourselves. So I'll try to shift it to make it easier. Like, how do you think players would describe you? Like your coaching style, your training style, you as a person. You know, Trevor Facey is the one who dropped me your cell, and you know, him and I are working on something right now, and just kind of what he had shared about you, I thought was really poignant. You know that, you know, when he was going through the darkest times of his life, he's like, "Oh yeah, that's like one of the only guys who texted me." You know, and then also just the impact in the weight room. But guys like him, other guys that you've coached, how do you think they would describe you?
Yeah, I mean, my goal every day, you said the word, like my one word philosophy and how I want to live my life is impact. I want to make an impact, a positive impact on everybody that I come in contact with. And I strive to do that every single day. I think it was Maya Angelou that said, people don't always remember what you say, but they remember the way you make them feel. And I want people while they're here, when they leave, to look back on their time at Davis and remember like having a really positive experience. You're going to come here, you're going to work hard. Like we will push you. You will be challenged every single day. But we want you to walk out of here with a smile on your face and like excited to come back and do it again tomorrow. That's kind of what we look for every day. As cheesy as that might sound, but it's just I want them to know that I care about them, right? Like I care about these guys and do anything for them. So hopefully they'll see that and think that and they feel that. But that's my goal every day.
That's really powerful, man. And it's so important because that type of thing translates off the field into life. Like you,
Yeah.
you know, said that impact. I'm curious, like, where do you think that comes from in you? Because like Brock and I have had different types of coaches over the years. We've been coaches at the high school level, and coaches have a massive impact, positive, neutral, or negative, and they have different styles. And so like, it's really powerful to hear like that driving one word philosophy. As you like, what would you attribute that to? Like, how did that become your kind of driving philosophy?
Yeah, I don't know if I can pinpoint it to one tipping point or one thing, but I just played a lot of sports growing up. Sports was a huge part of my life. I've had some really good coaches. I've had some really bad coaches. I've worked with some bad coaches. And just like I don't want to do it that way. And I think just learning from both. I think I've just kind of been aware. I've known for a while, like when I got in the field, that I wanted to be a head strength coach. So I think I just always kept my eyes open, whether it was a baseball coach, a football coach, a strength coach, just like how they interacted with the players and like take notes, good and bad, mentally of like, yeah, that's awesome. I've been blessed to work with some amazing mentors. Jason Velkamp, University of Arkansas, worked for him for 4 years. Phenomenal motivator, one of the best in the field. Tim Saha at Boise State in Washington. Just watching how they conduct themselves on a daily basis kind of really paved a path for me. So
let's start jumping into some of these questions. So for folks who don't know, we put out a post on IG, and all these guys come out of the woodworks, and you well, you'll know them. But and Dwight, some of mine on my desktop is not loading all the way. So if you're and I can't look at my phone because I'm using my phone to record. So if you could pull up some on your end too, I know there's a lot more that I'm not seeing, but um, I think a really good one that stood out from another Brock Johnson. He said, "I love to hear how he balances and decides on load for each individual player, especially during the season." So, how would you answer
yeah.
that?
Yeah. So first of all, like it's not just me. It's my staff, Matt Mandich, Darren Carradine, Kata Moore, Chris Peterson. Like it's a team effort. We all work together when we formulate all of our programs. So it's not just me in a silo coming up with ideas and bouncing numbers. It's us working together, looking at the season, how it plays out, where are bye weeks, who do we have what game, and just kind of understanding how the ebbs and flows of the season will go. And we plan it all out, and then sometimes it goes to plan, sometimes it doesn't. So, but the big thing in season, and I mean, this is out of season too, is just kind of how we conduct our program. Like it's about the relationship piece. Like just, I want the players to trust me and my staff, and we want to trust them. If we have a good relationship, if we understand that we want the same thing, like we're going to communicate, which is a big part of the relationship piece. We're going to communicate and understand when a player's beat up and a certain lift might beat them up more. They can communicate that. They feel safe to be like, yo, coach, like this might not be it for me today. This is what's going on. Great. Let's find another alternative. There's a million ways to get strong. There's a million ways to get powerful. I want to make sure and find the right way for that individual at that time. And, 8 out of 10 weeks, player might not have any issues. They're good to do exactly what's on their sheet and the weight and the movement. But those 2 out of 10, I want them to feel like they can communicate that with me, that we might need to do something else. On the same side, when a player's feeling really good and they want to go above their sheet, they want to go a little bit heavier, maybe they want to do some extra, like I want them to feel empowered to do that and communicate that as well. So we want to take advantage of those times. So there's the both sides of it, right? There's the dichotomy of, well, the season's going to be long. I'm going to feel like crap sometimes, but there's going to be some days feel really recovered and feel good. So like we want to take advantage of that too. So
yeah, trust is a word you drop there, and that feels so core to coaching player relationship in general, but in unique ways in a strength and conditioning role, because stuff is happening on the field in practice. Like for guys, things are going well, things might not be going well, and then they're still coming through, your spot and into the weight room and still trying to get those gains. I feel like that connects to this other question from Lisa Hughes, SD Hughes fam on Instagram, says, how do you see potential in the young players before they themselves, the staff, or even teammates do? How do you keep them engaged and motivated throughout the season? And I would just add the off season to that.
Yeah. there's some layers to that for sure. Everybody develops at their own rate, starting with the potential thing. Like we get guys that come in, it's like, yeah, they got some skill, but it's probably going to take them 2 or 3 years before they see the field. We got some guys come in that are extremely skilled right away. But like the space we have, like the weight room, the speed work, the conditioning, like it's the process, right? You hear coaches talk about process, and like we kind of say amongst ourselves is that like we're the process. Like we are the daily process that you got to come in here and bring it every single day, and you will get what you put in. Like you're gonna get a return on your investment. If you come in here and you don't give great effort, well, guess what? Like you're not gonna see the improvement. Our job is to develop these guys every single day. I can't control who we recruit, right? Good or bad, right? We get really good recruits come in here, like which the coaches bring in, a lot of them, and it makes me look really good and really smart. But like, regardless of training history, we're gonna push and get better. So I just understand, like, guys coming in between 18 and 22 years old, like they haven't hit their ceiling. Um, so just being able to push guys and understand that like there's definitely more in there. Whether guys been training since they're 8 years old, like the Connors brothers, or it's their first time in the weight room, right? Like there's definitely more we can squeeze, and we're just trying to find the best ways to do that. There was another part to that. What was?
I think you hit it. I mean, there was a
Okay.
piece about motivation, and I think that you hit that with the process, right? The process has to be a motivator. But if there's something else you want to say about kind of the motivation aspect of things.
Yeah, I think just creating a really good environment is part of the motivation piece, right? Like we have dudes that love to train, they love to be around each other, they love practicing together, they love training together. Like that's more of a motivator than anything I can do, right? Just bringing a bunch of good dudes that like to work and like to be around each other. Like, what more motivation do you need? So, yeah.
There was a Brock Johnson, not to give him double dip, but he asked a question that I think might connect to the motivation, which I remember in my days. The workout playlist was a little hit or miss in our days, but
you got to hit. That's a big
yeah,
that's a big part of it.
He asked about the what's on the current workout playlist. What's on rotation?
Yeah, so honestly, like I don't know a lot of the new stuff that comes out. There's a couple things that I like. My evaluation process for putting a song on, like I'll go through all the new releases. I got a 10-second snippet. I'll scroll to like a halfway through the song and I'll listen to it for 10 seconds. If it's got a good beat, it's going on the playlist. So like that's my screening process. Sometimes it gets me in a bad spot because I gotta remove it later. But sometimes even the clean stuff sounds a little dirty sometimes. But like if it's got a good beat, it'll find its way on.
You're right. That's crucial though. It's all about the environment, man. The environment, and that's something else that we'll try to get to as well, because that was a good question someone asked. I'm gonna switch it. I'm gonna go with like probably a difficult one. Our guy Scott Judson put it on here. I think it's more of like a emotional, philosophical, how you deal with stuff type question. But we know that there's been tough injuries this year. We know that there's tough injuries every year with every team. We see it. We always talk about it with the Niners too, because it feels like those guys are just dealing with it every year. But the question was poignant in that, and I'll paraphrase because I don't have it in front of me. Basically asked like, how do you personally kind of like handle seeing that? And is there like a part of you that feels I don't know if he used the word responsible, but like like getting at that, like how do you kind of cope with that, and how do you see it play out and handle that from your perspective?
Yeah. Every injury bothers me. Every single one, whether they miss a day or obviously the major ones, right? Like the ones where they miss a lot more time, like it bothers me, and I do take it personally, every single one. So every time we do it, and not to be reactive, like I think we're very proactive with a lot of things we do, and we've had a pretty good track record in our time here. But yeah, it is a violent game. So when something happens, it's kind of like if we didn't see it, or even after we want to see it at a different angle, like watching the film, what happened, kind of understand that, talking to the athlete, seeing how they felt, because they can provide a lot more information in the film. My foot was here, this happened. And then you try to think of like, are there things that we've done to put them in a position to be able to handle that kind of force at that angle, right? Like Just like coaching aspect, like, oh, did we put him in position to be successful with this play, with this block, with this scheme, whatever? We kind of look at it the same way. There's some crazy positions that they get in that we obviously shouldn't put them in under load. But like body weight, different ISOs, different plyometrics. Did we do the best we could? And if not, like, what do we need to do? So just constantly kind of evaluating and quality checking our program, how we can improve. So yeah, no, my goal is to have 0 injuries. I like, no injuries are acceptable. So I want that training room to be completely empty every day. So that's my goal. Haven't succeeded there yet, but that's what we're striving for.
Yeah. And real quick, Dwight, I wanted to follow up on that because there's a level of conversation that I think we could go to on this that is a little bit more high level, I guess, to put simply, around like I don't know, like the technology, the difference in athletes, like you talked about, like even capacity for force and the way the game is played now. It's like there's so many rules that are trying to minimize like head injuries, but like the human body is like getting bigger, stronger, and faster, and therefore like certain limitations in the human body seem like they're popping up more and more. Like there were not ACLs like at this rate, probably in the 60s and 70s in football. That's what I would assume. But like, and kind of going to, and you can talk about this year because I agree. Like Dwight was saying it because we hopped on early to preview the Montana State game. We're like, we don't even remember like very many significant injuries like at all with anyone like in UC Davis. So it's like, it is just bound to happen. Like it's a numbers game. It's the law of averages, which is just brutally hitting our team this year. But with the injuries this year specifically, and then also just like from a grander scheme of the athletes nowadays, like what do you see from your vantage point? Like as someone who's a leader in the field, things that athletes can do now, like are there certain trainings that performance staffs are shifting to given the current athlete's capacity? Or I'm just wondering your thoughts on more of like the high level view of injuries nowadays.
Yeah, it's that rabbit hole that everybody's down and they're chasing it. And but like you mentioned, NFL, right? NFL, NBA, like all these leagues are trying to chase the answer, and whoever figures it out is going to be a billionaire, right? Because like everybody's looking for the answer and nobody has found it. And honestly, it's probably not one thing. There's so many variables that come into play with injury. Sometimes just like, man, that's the right amount of force in the wrong place at the wrong time. And like, right, there's that. Like some of the strongest players, like these NFL players, they still get hurt. These are the best athletes in the world, but they're hurling their bodies into one another. Like something's got to give. So I think the biggest thing, and we've been on it for a little bit, is trying to limit injuries in practice and soft tissue injuries. And like a lot of that comes into like how we use the GPS, how we structure practice, how if someone does get injured or have a minor injury, how we return them. Because that's a big piece, right? When you have somebody that's injured and they're going to return, how do you return them safely? So that's a big piece that we work with the athletic training room. We use the GPSs for that. So that's really important. So that's a big part of the game. Some of the testing with the force plates that we do, all these evaluations, like we're looking for things that the research will tell us. And we're testing guys every Monday and Thursday on some different deals to try to keep them safe. And we've had success with that, but obviously then you get in the game and sometimes things happen. So, yeah, the field is constantly trying to evolve, trying to find answers for that. But like you said, the performance is just accelerating at such a high rate that the injury prevention quite hasn't caught up with that. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many good questions here and a couple that would stay on this thread, but I'll shift it a little bit to flip it over to, your time at Davis and the journey of these, I think you said 9 years now.
Yeah.
Our guy, Aaron Duncan, who asked for you to name it. And this is kind of a praise for you, but also a question in there, however you want to spin it. He said, Name a game in your time at Davis in which you've directly seen the fruits of your labor. And then he says, it was so much more evident that the work that our team, the team that Dunk was on, had put in with him in the offseason was at another level of our opposition. The game he thinks about that will forever mark your legacy is that season opening game against Tulsa in 2021.
Yeah. Good question, Dunk. That was a great game. It's hard, man. Like you can't pinpoint one game where like, yeah, that was the game that, yeah, like I got him right for that game, right? That's pretty good, pretty egotistical to think like that. I appreciate the question, Dunk, but like there's so many factors, right? Like it's everybody. It's a team effort. Like how are the players executing? How was practice that week? What's the game plan, right? Like there's way too many coaches and players and everybody involved to say, well, that was like, well, that's the game that marks my legacy. Like there's so many people behind the scenes. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. It kind of stumped me, but like there's so many layers, there's so many variables, there's so many people that are putting in work to get us to achieve at a high level every Saturday.
Yeah, and I would take Dunk's question and almost flip it a little bit, because part of our memories, Brock, that we talk about all the time is those early mornings in the winter and the spring and like the work with our strength and conditioning coach, Coach Brand, and just like, so I would almost flip it, Coach, and like ask you to talk a little bit about how you think about the off season.
Yeah.
And because I would imagine that the fruit that led to that game in Tulsa that, for Dunk, stamps your memory was that 20 to 21 off season. And then every off season that follows is such a opportunity to really get the guys ready. So talk a little bit about how you think about and how you approach the off season.
Yeah. So like I talked about with my staff, we'll sit down here in the next couple of weeks and we'll start planning even before the season's over. What are some things that we liked? And we do this at the end of each phase too, but we'll talk about like what are things we liked about last off season that we definitely want to keep. I kind of have like our core values. What are some things we want to change? What are things we need? Right? We look at the injuries. We look at how we performed. We look at the roster. The roster is a big piece, right? Like this year's roster, the 25 roster compared to the 24 roster, completely different. The way we trained was different. Our training calendar was different. We had 34, 35 seniors on the 24 team, right? We're redshirting 32 guys right now on this team, right? So like complete flip, right? We had a bunch of like 23 and 24-year-olds last year. We got a bunch of 18 and 19-year-olds this year. So it's gonna look different. So yeah, and that's kind of how we approach every offseason. Like, what do we need? Who are we? And just kind of go from there. So, I mean, we're going to try to get stronger, faster, everything like that. But how we do it, how we split things up, how we compete. This year, leadership was a big focus in the offseason because we had a bunch of young guys. So, like, we'll make those tweaks based on the roster and how the calendar is structured. So,
yeah. So you're talking a lot about, GPS and other terminology that like we're not as familiar with, because like when we played, like it was just a different, it was a different environment. Literally, it was a different environment. It was a different weight room, and that weight room, and I'm sure you're happy to be where you're at now. Like Dwight and I have been able to get the flush tour of the EFACT, and it's freaking gorgeous. And like I would kill to be able to have worked out in there and looking out at the practice field and whatnot. And
we have alumni lives. You guys haven't come to an alumni live yet.
We would be a little embarrassed to have you put us through a workout. But
there's different levels. We just want people to show up and have a good time.
I love it. Just give me like a rehab session potentially. That might be best because my body's still broken everywhere. But you even mentioned the thing about like soft tissue, and like I really struggled. Praise God, I'd never missed a game in my whole career from age 8 to 22. But I struggled a lot, especially in spring ball, as was the case back then, probably with hamstring issues. And it just every spring would pop up for me, literally pop for me. And then it just became something I was always managing. And I think of the technology now though, and some of those terms that you've talked about, like professional development is a thing in every profession. And you strike us as someone who really values being at the forefront, which is why I've been kind of interested in some of those questions of the performance world. So, where do you get your insights and your information to help shape what the program's going to look like each and every year?
Yeah. I mean, we have our core values, right? I talked about that. Like, I lean on my staff for so much, right? You get these, there's four guys that help with football, but we have another two staffs. There's 7 of us on staff. We meet every week to do a continuing ed meeting. It's like some will present, where we did like book reports last quarter. We'll do different podcasts. Like, we're just always sharing ideas, sharing programs, watching each other train the teams, talking about training. Like, we get so much from that. Like, there's outside sources, there's the internet, there's talking to people, there's going to conferences. That's all great. But like, when we sit down, the 7 of us, like, there's no egos in the room. Like, we will share exactly what we think about. Hey man, I ran this program, thought it was great, turned out to be freaking crap. Like, it didn't work. This is why. Probably not going to hear that at a conference too often, right? So like, we're completely transparent with each other. Somebody saw something new, we share that. So really, that's where I get a lot of it. Just talking to my staff, because we got some really smart people on this staff, and kind of leaning on them and hearing their ideas. Um, so maybe they talked to somebody, got an idea. Maybe we saw something, read something. A lot of those ideas too just kind of spark something else. Well, this is good, but what if we did this? This might not, they were doing this with soccer. How would it work with football? Um, I think that's where a lot of my personal learning and development and growth comes from. Um, so
Yeah, kind of following on that thread, and it's personal for me because I had had my lingering injuries when we played, and kind of my first couple years that off season always had something. And then I forget how exactly, but I came across hot yoga, and it kind of changed the game for me headed into my senior year. There's a question here from Aggie that says, "Have you considered adding yoga to help decrease injuries and increase flexibility and recovery time?" And even beyond that, yes, no question. Like, in your continued learning, um, I played long enough ago to be curious, like how does yoga and flexibility and those different modalities play into, not only the off season, but, throughout the year for you and your program?
yeah, so we have had people do yoga classes for us. We've sent guys to yoga. We've had instructors come in. We've done that. We had my first couple years here, we did a Sunday recovery session. We had a few guys that were really into it. I think Keelan was a big fan of it. Kind of dwindled for a couple years after that. We've had D, our assistant volleyball coach, did it for us last year a couple times in camp. We haven't done it recently, but we like, yoga's great, but that's not a magic pill, right? Doing hang cleans isn't a magic pill. We use a lot of components of yoga. We do a lot of mobility, a lot of flexibility training as part of our training. Honestly, we pull and steal from and collaborate from a lot of different avenues, like track and field training, yoga, powerlifting, Olympic lifting. Like, all those things are really good um, on their own, but you find the right way to combine those for the right athlete at the right time. And really, that's kind of what we think is the best training program. There's really good things about all of them, and how do you use them and when. And you got a stiffer athlete, yeah, maybe you need to spend some more time stretching and doing some more mobility work and rolling out some soft tissue stuff, and like, they don't need to be in the squat rack for 45 minutes, right? So some of the guys that we get that like to do some extra arm work, right? We get some meatheads that come in here like to throw it around, which I love and appreciate. But some of those guys are stiff. It's like, hey, in between sets of curls, I'm going to put this band here by you. Mix in some hamstring stretches. Mix in a couch stretch here and there. So like, we'll kind of kind of throw those ideas around. Some guys are really into it and they're kind of self-aware and they want specific mobility programs. So we'll do some extra with those guys pre and post workout. They'll come in on off days. So those are, the yoga is definitely a part of it. But we don't dedicate 45 minutes a day to yoga. We've had some guys go on their own and they loved it and it was great for them. I think CJ Hutton was big into going to yoga in season once or twice a week.
Nice. My wife is a Pilates fan, so I just need to say the word Pilates because she'll listen to this, and she's going to be at the game on Saturday, and she's got a personal thing with the yoga Pilates rivalry. It's not a rivalry. I want to shift, and Dwight, maybe you can queue up a couple more fan questions, alum questions, but I do want to ask you about this year's team. And even just like the moment of time that we're in, like we were chatting before we clicked record that it's Veterans Day and like, hey, practices shift and you guys had the Idaho State game, but then you bounced back with a big win on the road. You lost another guy who was a crucial piece of the offense. But I'm thinking about like the guys who are stepping up, the guys who are playing, the guys who played all year versus the new guys you're incorporating, and just even imagining like walking into the weight room and like seeing there's different times a day you guys work out potentially or whatever schedule you guys have it, but there's the red shirts, then there's like the old guys who you're trying to keep healthy and doing certain things, and then there's these new players who are thrust into like some pretty significant roles. So talk to us just about like, how do you think the team's doing? How do you think the new guys specifically is kind of what I'm interested in are doing heading into like a massive last 2 weeks of the year?
Yeah. I think the team's doing really well. We got a great group of guys, as you guys know. They play so hard for each other. They love the game. They love each other. A pillar of our program is find joy, and they really find joy being around each other and playing hard together. And it's so much fun to coach these guys. It's so much fun to watch them go out on Saturdays and just have fun and play a game that they love and play really hard. The new guys, like I said, we got 32 guys redshirting. Some of those guys are playing a little bit with the rules. They can still play 4 games, so they've kind of dosed some of those guys in, and really it's just, I mean, we've been doing that for years. It's just a few more guys playing this year, but like we are built on development, and our coaches, they want our guys to develop. They are committed to development. So like those guys will redshirt and they'll lift at 5:45 in the morning, but all of a sudden their number's called. Like the coach is going to let me know, hey, this guy's going to roll this week. So I'm going to change his training a little bit. We're going to pull back on him. He'll be training after practice with the vets. Not going to have him come in at 5:45, 3 or 4 days a week. But if they're out the next week, then they're going to be back with their crew and they're back with the red shirt. So we can still kind of dabble between developing and playing and going back and forth. And as guys' roles change, their training also changes with us. Basically, you're playing a lot of plays in the game. You're not going to be lifting as long or as heavy or as often in here. You're not stepping on the field on Saturdays. Well, it's an off season for you, and we're getting you ready to compete for a starting job in spring ball. And that's kind of our mindset when they start redshirting, and that get ready to start in spring ball becomes, well, get ready to start week 5, and we make the adjustment there. But like, that's our mindset with those guys, with those young guys, is we're getting you ready to compete for a starting spot. So let's make sure we're putting in the work every single day. So some of those guys get the opportunity a little bit sooner than we thought. So
yeah, every year is same and different, and like just the ability to adjust and stay anchored on those core values. I think from what I'm hearing and listening and like matching what you're saying up to what folks have said about you, it makes more sense to me, like the way that you create that environment for the guys, regardless of the situations. That's really powerful to hear. I hope I'm not dipping my feet in hot water here, but I got a player question from Sony, who says, who holds the golden gloves? I don't know what that means, but I think you might.
Yeah, well, like, so we'll do in our off season, specifically in the winter. We'll do a little bit in the summer with those guys too. But right, 300-pound lineman running 50 yards is a lot different than a 185-pound wide receiver. So we don't do as much running with those guys, especially in the off season. We'll do some non-impact conditioning with those guys. So boxing is a part of it. That's something we were able to outfit with the new room. We got the heavy bags, the focus mitts. So we'll have some different non-impact conditioning circuits for those guys. And I guess he's got a big ego now because of it. I told Sony one day, man, if I'm ever walking down a dark alley, I want you by my side because he can thump the heavy bags. He's got some heavy hands. So
that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Love it. Well, Coach,
Brock, you there?
Yeah, appreciate all the time. I think we normally, as we kind of wind things down, like to kind of just remind people of the people who listen to this, which is a lot of alums, both football alums and just alums of the school, and obviously like current players and parents and some students and fans and that sort of thing. And so we were so excited to have you on. Definitely lived up to it. But do you have like kind of any closing thoughts or like closing words, like with the audience and the listener in mind, before we wrap?
Yeah, anybody listening that I got a chance to work with, just like, man, like this place is special, and it's special because of all the people that are here. You guys know that, man. Like, I didn't know much about Davis before I got here. People talking about Aggie pride and what's an Aggie, like, I didn't get it at first, but like, man, like I've got Aggie pride. I don't know if I could have gotten to school here coming out of high school, but like I've got Aggie pride. This is my 9th season. I love this place. I love the people here. Just blessed to be here.
Yeah, man, it's clear, often through what people say, and I think like a lot of the stuff we didn't hit in these comments, like tons of goat emojis, Coach. The not a question, but just wanted to say, Coach, that your energy every morning for practice is elite. Thanks for always getting everyone hyped up in the morning. It goes a lot to your reference to the Maya Angelou quote, right? It's like how you make people feel. And then ultimately it's not about what we say about ourselves, but the testimonies that others give. And so, I just am incredibly grateful for everything you've brought to the program. The impact does live on from my view, right? Of like seeing all these guys who you've worked with and that you're working with now and what they think about what you're contributing to the program. So just deep appreciation, man, for your contribution and to your point, your team, right? Because it sounds like the group that you have brought together is a huge part of that as well. So we're really
for sure,
really grateful to have time with you and appreciate you taking time. And one question I had is, as we wrap, is, thinking back to our experience, there's the strength and conditioning work off the field, but there's a role, on the field on game day.
Yeah, true.
Right. And so like, how do you think about your role on the field during the game? I see you on the sidelines, and like, yeah, how do you approach that piece of your role?
Yeah, really, really the role on the sideline is just make sure that we don't get flagged. That's kind of my role. So I think we've only got one in my 9 years. So just make sure the players stay back, make sure the coaches stay back. Referees don't want to run into anybody, right? They got a tough enough job as it is. They're running blind down the sideline. If somebody gets in their way, that's 15 yards. Like that could be a big swing, and that's on me and the staff. So I don't know. Like that's one of the jobs, right? That's one of the things that we do, and really our role is other duties as assigned, right? Like whatever the team needs, like we're going to find a way to help out, and we try to be that as a sports performance staff.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
It makes me think this too, Dwight and Coach, like the presence of someone. And that's why like COVID screwed with us so much. Cause even right now, like you texted us like, hey, are we doing this in person? Damn, I wish we could have done it in person, because that is different, right? Like to be around someone, to have that presence, to like give someone a hug or like slap them on the helmet or the shoulder pads. Like the presence of a strength conditioning coach or a performance coach like yourself around a program, it's like I can't even put it into words. It one of it is just like even the stature, the fact that you're like shredded and you have a vibe, and like that is a thing that can give a team confidence, you know? And so I think the the presence of you on the sidelines, and even when I've been there early to like watch warmups and that sort of thing, like it sets the tone. Like we feel your energy, we feel your confidence, we everything you say, like that moment when you're going down the line when we're doing static stretch and you like dap them up, and what you say to the guy really matters. Like it really mattered to me, like to know like my coach said something, he made me feel special, he gave me confidence, like he said the thing that makes me feel like I'm about to play well. And so I hope you take encouragement from that. Like all these dudes' comments, they're not just like hot air. Like these guys aren't just throwing in comments at other times. So I hope you feel the impact you're making, because that's the word, right? It's the impact. So have a great trip to Bozeman. I want to be there with my wife, and we're gonna be looking at your dynamic warm up and everything you're doing. She's gonna have comments about it, because that's what she geeks out on. She's like,
Right.
why are you doing that? And so maybe we'll come
Yeah.
see you pregame and you can say what's up. But good luck this week, and thanks so much for joining.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, guys. It was fun.